Christians. Whilst Dunamis picking those other things, and we showing Raw he need to come get delivered and join the first apostolic church of the Holy Union. Come to the microphone and tell us about these occurrences.
A decent translation. In English, we're blessed. We have essentially too many good translations. So there's a bunch of translations I would utilize. I think a wise strategy is sometimes to look to a number of translations to get a sense of it. And if one stands out, find the reason why it sticks out. Find the reason so you at least understand, even if you agree with the minority translation. Now, I'm not talking about interpretation. I'm talking about translation. But I think the best translations are the ESV, the English Standard Version. There's one called the New American Standard. That's a good one. The CSB, the Christian Standard Bible, the NET, New English Translation. The King James is poetic and beautiful, but it has problems based upon the limitations of its time in history. They didn't have as many manuscripts. They didn't have as old manuscripts. And even though they had the best scholars of their day who were brilliant men, they had limitations. There's certain Hebrew words, for example, they didn't know what they meant yet because they didn't have enough comparisons. And so it ends up with problems. And then you have problems that are just from not being able to do things like really place things together and do them, because they would have sections of committees. Committees would translate different sections of the KJV. And so they didn't always get to cross-check them. So you would have a word that would be translated in different ways. And so there's some lack of uniformity. One of the worst examples is in Acts, where it refers to Christians celebrating Easter. It says Easter in the King James. Clearly, that's a mistake. That's a mistake of their era. That's
now, hold up. What about Easter? What are you talking about Easter? In what?
So in the book of Acts, okay? In the book of Acts, if you go to the book of Acts, it's after John. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, right? And you go to Acts 12:4, Acts 12:4, and you look in Acts 12:4, and I'm going to read it to you. Here's what it says. This is what I mean. I'm saying this is a mistake in the King James translation. This is not a mistake in the Bible. It's not a mistake in the text. It's a mistake in the translation. There is a difference, and I hope people follow that. And here's what it says in the ESV. And when he had seized him, he put him in prison, delivering him over to 4 squads of soldiers to guard him, intending after the Passover to bring him out of the people. But if you read it in the King James Version, it says Easter there. So I'm going to now go to the King James Version. And I think I showed Christian celebrating. It doesn't refer to Christian celebrating it, but it refers to that time as Easter. So here we go in the KJV. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. It literally says Easter in the KJV at Acts 12:4. That's a mistake. The Greek word is Pascha. Pascha. That literally means the feast of the Passover. It does not mean Easter. That's clearly anachronistic.
Damn.
You know?
Well, you know, Captain Tazariak, he says he believed in every word written in the King James Version of the Bible. He actually said that.
He should believe in every word of the Bible.
47. It'll be relatively short tonight, unless somebody asks the right question that makes me go off on a rabbit trail. No. Isn't Easter an error in Acts chapter 12, verse 4? Shouldn't Pascha be translated Passover like every other version has? Well, let's look at it. Acts chapter 12, it says, Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church. And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. This has been the history of humanity. They hate Christians. They still do. The atheists still do. They don't kill them now, but they would if they could. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, key phrase there, politician, you know, he saw that killing the Christians pleased the Jews. Oh, let's go kill more. He proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. Oh, stay with me now. And when he'd apprehended him, that would be Peter, he put him in prison, and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers, 16 men, to keep him, intending, he must have been a dangerous preacher, 16 Roman soldiers to guard the guy, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. So the English Standard Version says, intending after the Passover to bring him out to the people. The non-inspired version says, intending after the Passover. After the Passover, after the Passover, after the Passover. Which one's right? Why does the King James say intending after Easter? Well, let's see. Best-selling version of the Bible is the New Revised Standard Version, is the most commonly preferred by Bible scholars. In the United States, 55% of the survey respondents who read the Bible reported using the King James Version in 2014, 19% by the NIV, and other versions less than 10%. Okay, so the NRSV, New Revised Standard Version, says, intending to bring him out to the people after the Passover. Which one's right? The critics that like to criticize the King James say, the King James got it wrong. All the other versions have Passover. Okay, let's see here. Here's where the Passover started. In Exodus chapter 12, the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month, we'll just call that April, because their calendar is not the same as ours, but close enough. We'll call it April. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. So their calendar year starts differently than ours. We start ours in January. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, April, they shall take to them every man a lamb. So every family get a lamb ready. According to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. So let's just call it April for sake of the discussion here. April 10th, everybody pick out a lamb. Okay? And if the household be too little for the lamb, it's interesting, the lamb's never too little for the household. The household might be too little for the lamb. Let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. I don't know how many people it takes to eat a lamb. Let's say it's 4, 5, 10. So if you don't have enough in your family, invite the neighbors over for lamb chops. Simple enough, okay? Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, because they had to watch to see, make sure it didn't have any blemishes. Select the lamb, say this is the one, watch it for 4 days until the 14th. Make sure that it's a perfect lamb. The whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. So everybody, same time, sundown, everybody kills their lamb. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorpost of the houses wherein they shall eat it. So on the 10th they pick the lamb. On the 14th they're going to eat it, have the feast. By the way, Vincent, all of our critters up north, our lambs need to be, the wool needs to be shorn off. They're getting heavy. Do we have a way to do that? Yeah, sheared. Okay. Swiss Army knife scissors won't do it, huh? No, okay. Anyway, get sidetracked. So they're going to keep the lamb till the 14th. And ye shall eat the flesh in that night. What night? The 14th. Roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs shall they eat it. They shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. Ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded. So you're going to have supper with your clothes on, and your shoes on, and your staff in your hand, ready to run. Because what ended up happening, this was the night when God finally convinced Pharaoh to let him go. And Pharaoh said, get them people out of my country now. And so they took off that night. And for the next 7 days, they had to eat unleavened bread because they were traveling. It wasn't time to let the bread yet rise. Okay? Let's see, your staff in your hand, you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. There it is, Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it with haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And this is when Pharaoh's own son died that night, and the oldest son in every house died. And finally Pharaoh said, get him out of here. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Remember, they killed the lamb, take the blood, sprinkle it on the doorpost on the outside. Angel would pass over that house. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Okay, that's where we get the word Passover. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial. Ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. And even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. So 10th they pick a lamb, 14th they kill it, put the blood on the doorpost, and the angel passed over them. For the next 7 days they're running away from Pharaoh because he did change his mind. And 3 days later, took them 3 days to catch him. They crossed the Gulf of Aqaba. We cover that later, not the Gulf of Suez. So for 7 days they're running and eating unleavened bread. In the first day there be a holy convocation. In the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat. That only may be done to you. See, God is telling them, not only is this going to happen tonight, but you're going to remember this every year. This is your Passover celebration every year from now on. And they still do it, the Passover, okay? Ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for this in this same day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. I want you to do this from now on, Moses. In the first month, the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, that means just yeast to make the bread right, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. This is all symbolic of sin, how it gets in and it slowly creeps up and takes over everything. You put a little bit of yeast in a lump of bread, it'll spread out and take over the whole thing. And sin kind of does that. So that's all symbolic, different story there. In the 14th day of the first month is the Passover of the Lord, and the 15th day of this month is the feast. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Story in Numbers chapter 28, Exodus chapter 12, 2 Chronicles 30, Ezra chapter 6. Same story every time. Okay. Easter falls on the first Sunday after the full moon. You know why Easter changes every year? You got to wait till equinox when they have equal days, equal nights. That's usually about March 20th or March 21st. That has to do with the tilt of the earth as it goes around the sun, and the earth is round, and it does spin, it does go around the sun. Tilted over 23.4 something degrees. And as we travel around the sun twice a year, we get to the place where the sun is directly over the equator. And everybody gets 12 hours darkness, 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of darkness. North Pole, South Pole, equator, everybody, 12 hours. So that happens twice a year as we go around the sun. Long story. Anyway, so you have to wait till that day, equinox, and then the next Sunday after the first full moon, after equinox. So it might happen all on the same day. It could happen on the 21st. Or you might have the equinox and have to wait 19, 20, 30, 25 days for the full moon, and then have to wait till Sunday. So the calendar, which is made up by the Catholics to celebrate Easter, is kind of crazy because it changes all the time. The date of the Paschal full moon used to determine the date of Easter is based on mathematical approximations following a 19-year cycle. Okay. So this year, April 17th is going to be Easter Sunday. Here's some points to ponder about Easter. The Passover was at night on the 14th day of April. The 7 days of unleavened bread always followed the Passover. The pagan festival of Ishtar or Easter, the pagan festival, was always held late in April to celebrate the earth regenerating itself. Hey, plants were growing again. That's why they use symbols like rabbits, Playboy bunny, eggs, the fertility symbols. They used fertility. It was a giant sex orgy is what it was. Ishtar, the goddess Ishtar. Easter was originally the celebration of Ishtar, the Assyrian and Babylonian goddess of fertility and sex. Her symbols, like the egg and bunny, were and still are fertility and sex symbols. Did you actually think eggs and bunnies had anything to do with resurrection? How many of you had Easter egg hunts when you were a kid at your church on Sunday? Yeah. It's a completely pagan holiday. Ishtar, Easter. The chief Babylonian and Assyrian goddess associated with love, fertility, and war. Okay. Is Easter a pagan festival? Well, it turns out Easter actually began as a pagan festival, celebrating spring in the northern hemisphere long before the advent of Christianity. In the first couple of centuries after Jesus' life, feast days in the new Christian church. Oh, now this ABC News got it wrong. This was the Catholic Church that started this, because they didn't start till a few centuries after Christ. But the new Christian church were attached to old pagan festivals. That's right. The Catholic Church took a lot of old pagan festivals and tried to Christianize them. They picked Easter and said, oh, let's call that the resurrection of Christ. It got nothing to do with it, all right? What is the meaning of the name Ishtar? The mother goddess Ishtar, Ashtaroth, Ashtoreth, etc., was worshipped by the Assyrians and Babylonians as the goddess of love, war, justice, and fertility. So the 7 feast days are never called the Passover anywhere in Scripture. The Passover was one night and then 7 days of the feast. Peter was arrested during the days of unleavened bread, which means the Passover was gone. Think about it. Herod wanted to kill him during his own pagan festival of Easter coming up in a few days. King James is the only version to get it right. Only one. About that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church. And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it please the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. Well, when was Peter arrested? During the days of unleavened bread. Passover is gone. And when he apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him intending after Easter, nothing to do with Passover, to bring him forth to the people. The word Pascha or Passover was invented by a guy, you can read the story here about Tyndale. He invented the word Pascha. He did not use the Pascha in Acts 12:4. He did his own translation of the Bible. As Thomas Holland demonstrated, the days of unleavened bread come after the Passover. One reason Tyndale did not employ the word that he invented in Acts 12. The second reason, of course, is because Herod was looking forward to the pagan festival of Ishtar, from which the word Easter is derived. And so Tyndale, who invented the word, did not use the word Passover in his own translation. So here we go. Okay. Article appeared in Trinitarian Bible Society Quarterly Record. Said, we can read all that some other time. Okay, so here we got the Canadian calendar a couple of years ago. We have the Holy Thursday Passover, Good Friday Passover, Passover on Saturday, Easter Sunday, Easter Monday. Now the Orthodox Easter is even a week later. Both of them got it wrong. Orthodox Easter and regular Easter, they're both pagan holidays, guys. Nothing to do with the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So the April 20th calendar I kept in here, I did this a couple of years ago. Jesus was crucified on Wednesday. Thursday was a Sabbath for the Passover. They had to rest. The day of preparation. Friday was the day of preparation for the Saturday Sabbath. They got another Sabbath coming up that week. So they had 2 Sabbaths and two days of rest in the same week. Women came to the tomb empty Sunday morning and found the tomb empty. Jesus was crucified on Wednesday, not Good Friday. You can't get 3 days and 3 nights between Friday and Sunday. In the grave 3 days and 3 nights. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights he was in the grave. Thursday, Friday, Saturday during the day, and he rose Saturday night. Because Sunday morning when they got there, he was gone. He was in the grave 3 days and 3 nights. Exactly like it says. So, no, I'm sorry. King James, only one got it right. If you're going to study your Bible, get a real Bible. I don't understand the these and thous. Well, I get off center here. Okay. There's a reason they did these and thous. We cover that in our video series also. We have time for one more question, and then we'll take questions coming in.